The February 23rd, 2016 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. I would like to ask members of the audience to please remove their hats. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience, please turn off your electronic device or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentation to the board is limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda items or matters in which the board customarily take actions, you must first complete a peach form located on the front table. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or student disciplinary matter, please complete the lime green form. This form must be fully completed, received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Carol Ely, District 2.
Present.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Mr. George Tomlin, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Lake, Board Attorney.
Here.
Ms. Lauren DiOrio, Foundation Development Director for Public Education Foundation, please introduce the Marion County 2015-2016 Teacher of the Year, who will provide the inspiration and lead us in the pledge this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Tomlin and members of the school board. So at the foundation, we do a lot of satisfying work supporting our teachers and students in schools every day, but one of the things we're really excited about every year is when we get to honor our outstanding educators. And last Friday, we held our 26th annual Golden Apple Gala. And we could not be more proud to introduce to you today Tanya Trevieso, our 2016 Marion County Teacher of the Year. Tanya has been teaching in Marion County for 18 years. She's a special education teacher at Vanguard High School. Tanya says, "I teach exceptional students who happen to have special needs. I want my students to feel respected, to be treated with honor, dignity, love, and compassion." Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2016 Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. What an honor. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and I'm honored, like I said, I'm honored to be here. Tonight, I wanted to speak of an inspiration that I see every day in the halls of Vanguard High School. As many of you already know, I teach students that happen to have a disability. And though they inspire me every day, tonight I wanted to talk about the other students at Vanguard High School who also inspire me. These students are compassionate, caring, and kind individuals who treat my students with respect and acceptance. My students have never been mistreated or disrespected by the other students at Vanguard. My students feel a part of our school and participate in all of our school functions. I applaud the youth of today for being tolerant, understanding, and accepting of my students. My hope is that we all can learn valuable lessons from these amazing young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, before you get away, we just have to say a few words. Come back up here.
Yes, sir.
I was not there, but I had an opportunity to watch you on live TV, and we are so pleased because one of the things that we look at in the school system is that we look at our upper level, we look at our lower level, and we look at our kids with special needs. And when I say special need, it really takes a special person to really to bring forth all the energy and love in your class. And I did see that.
Thank you.
And board, I know that we had someone to attend it. So I just want, on behalf of the board, I just want to thank you and for all the kids in Marion County that's in special needs classes. It's a great honor. And I just learned that in Lake City, that their teacher of the year, Lake County was a special needs teacher as well, and they was teacher of the year. So we are beginning to recognize an outstanding job that you do. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent.
Board, with the exception of items C19 through C24 and C44, which have been withdrawn entirely, I recommend approval of the agenda for the February 23rd, 2016 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as the part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion and a second on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Ms. Ely, second by Ms. King. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 21st, 2016 administrative briefing and work session, the January 26th, 2016 school board meeting, the February 9th, 2016 school board meeting? May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Ms. King. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. Mr. Mark Villanella, Executive Director of Student Services, please introduce the individual from the Marion Therapeutic Writing Association.
Good evening, Mr. Tommen and Mr. James, board members. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce Mrs. Leslie Geddes. Mrs. Geddes, please come on up. She is the Executive Director of the Marion Therapeutic Writing Association. As you all know, we, Student Services, the district, we contract with many different organizations to provide support to our students. This is a very special contract that we have, and it's not often that the individuals that we contract with asked to come and address the board and to thank the board. So we are honored tonight, and with that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Geddes.
Good evening, board members and Mr. Tommen. I want to thank you for letting us have the opportunity to come, and just thank you for the partnership that you share with Marion Therapeutic Writing Association. I'm not sure if you're aware that Marion Therapeutic Writing, I'll just call it MTRA, it's so much easier, was started over 33 years ago when some teachers from Hillcrest School found out about the benefits of therapeutic horseback riding for children with autism. And from that, MTRA was born and has been in this community ever since. So we are real proud that we've had this partnership with the school board and with Hillcrest School for so long. I'm not sure if any of you have been to Hillcrest School and seen the kids, the students riding out there, but I invite all of you to come out. It's really an amazing thing to see those children who can't even sit up in a wheelchair and they get up on that horse and it builds their core up. And it's more than just a pony ride. The teachers say that those kids do better after riding. They're focused better, they're more relaxed, their bodies are sometimes real stiff, and when they get off that horse, the heat of the horse and the movement of the horse really just loosens them up. So it really has done a lot for the students at that school, and the teachers say that it's helped them reach their goals a lot quicker if they are involved in the riding program. We're having a horse show on March the 29th. We'd like to invite y'all to come. It starts at 9:45. It's the end of the year for the students that are riding this session. The students love it. It's all about them. We make a big deal and give them ribbons and have music playing, and they just love it. So, but we really want to just thank you for the partnership that we've had with the Marion County School Board and with Hillcrest School. And I've got some brochures here I wanted to pass out. And please, if you have any questions or if you'd ever like to come see us, just give me a call. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. What time of day and how many days a week do you work with the kids?
We do, the Hillcrest students have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They start about 9:30 and they end about noon, before lunch.
And you said just children with autism? That's,
Oh, no, it's all the kids there. It's just,
mentioned autism.
it was just started by the teachers for the children with autism, but there are several students there that have cerebral palsy and Down syndrome, and
yeah. And you do it right on Hillcrest campus?
right, we have 6 acres on the Hillcrest campus that the school board owns, but we maintain with help from the school board. They do come out and help us when we have things that we can't get fixed by our volunteers. And but we have 4 horses there and have the classes there during the school year.
Who maintains the horses when the school's out?
We do. We usually take them back to our other facility that's on the Florida Greenway. Sometimes we keep them there. It depends on how much room we have, how many horses we have. But we have volunteers that are on a schedule there to feed, and so the horses are looked at twice a day, every day, by someone to make sure that they're okay. But we usually take them back and use them in our other program.
Sounds like a great program.
It really is. We would love to have you.
Especially see the horse show.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Ms. Stacy?
I can say from my own experience that this is some of the best spent money that this community can spend. I have also been a writing instructor my entire adult life and worked with many students that came through the ranch that were ESE students who sometimes their siblings who were not handicapped in any way would not get near the horse. But the handicapped child saw it as such an opportunity because the way I had my ramps and everything, they could just get right on. And it was kind of a time in their life that they could look at their non-handicapped sister and say, you really shouldn't be afraid.
Right.
Because they just were so excited and their personalities just came in. The parents stayed in touch with me and the children would come back and ride and we would do parties and things, and the handicapped child could be a part of the birthday party that we were doing and get up there and ride and just be part of the gang. And like you said, it just completely, these were children who could not even spread their legs.
Right.
But they would do it to get on that
Right.
horse. And it was just amazing. It was mind over their body at that time.
Right, and we had one particular girl that said her brother's a skater and a football player, and she said, this is something I'm good at.
Exactly.
Because she can't participate in other sports, so,
I saw it all the time.
Yes.
So I'm telling you, this is a program that this community, I know they do support, but I have firsthand experience at working with these children. And it was so rewarding for me because I've seen moms cry.
oh, we cry every week at Hillcrest, every week. We have a horse, I just want to tell one little short story. We have a horse at Hillcrest that is so well behaved, he never misbehaves or acts up, and he just stopped when they were having the lesson. And the girl kept going, what's wrong with you? And she looked back and the girl on him was having a seizure. And he sensed it and just stopped. So these horses do sense that these children are, that they've got these disabilities and that they need their extra attention. And they really bond with them. We let them brush the horses, even though they're not really grooming them, but we let them come out and brush them. And
it's interesting you said that because we did have a child come out to the ranch for a birthday party group that I did. And the horse and Fancy was not moving in her normal way. And I kept trying to get her to go, and she was slow. And the mom said, wait, something's wrong. And the little boy was losing his balance, and the horse could feel him going off balance. And Fancy she's a thoroughbred off the track, by the way. And she stood there, and the mom said, oh my goodness, I just remember he was so excited about coming to the party, he didn't take his seizure medicine.
oh, see,
And
they
so
sense
the
it.
horse could feel the shift in the saddle and knew it was time to stop.
Right.
Thank you.
Ms. Boynton?
I just want to thank you for bringing such a great program to Marion County. I will say, in respect of Ms. Stacy, my exposure to horses was through Mrs. Stacy's, her city farm, City Slicker.
And she's a scaredy cat.
I was very frightened of a horse, so and she invited me just to get me familiar with her horses, and I think that really helped me adjust, and just to know how our children adapt well in relationship with the animals. I really appreciate you having this farm. right on our campus, and I know all the children do too, as well as the parents, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just feel like it's a great, with this being the horse capital of the world, it's a great way to tie it into the community. So we're very proud of it.
Thank
Ms.
you.
King?
That's exactly what I was thinking, that horse capital of the world. I just want to thank you also, and I look forward to coming out to visit.
Good.
I will be in contact and see if we can arrange something.
We would love that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I really would like to encourage all of the board members to really visit Hillcrest, because there's really a lot of neat things going on, and this is just one of them.
That's right.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much.
Individuals who have completed the appropriate form prior to 5:40 p.m. will now have the opportunity to address the board. Before you begin your presentation, it is required that you state your name and address for the record. Additionally, please spell your last names. Matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsion, will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents wishing to address the board regarding a discipline matter will have the opportunity to do so at that time. I will now ask the school board attorney to explain some additional points. Mr. Lake.
Thank you. If you plan to address the school board tonight, please be aware of the school board procedures. Copies of those procedures are available from Mr. Christian or from one of the front tables. Under the school board's procedures, audiovisual presentations are permitted if provided at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to the school board's assistant. AV presentations are limited to a total of 5 minutes. The use of any student's name except by his or her parents or guardian, or identifying references to or identification of other students and their families is strictly prohibited. Based on time consideration, the school board, by a majority vote, may rightfully limit the number of presentations on any one topic, shorten the presentation time, move that public comment time to a different position on the agenda, or eliminate the public comment time altogether. Mr. James?
Okay, Brenda?
Mr. Chris Altabello.
Good evening, Chairman James, Superintendent Tomlin, board members. Chris Altabello, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street, Ocala, Florida. As president of the Marion Education Association, I have the pleasure of advocating for teachers and students locally and across the state. I want to thank you for all you do to help the children of Marion County. We ask much of ourselves and of you, and we all know there are times when we wish we could do more. Tonight, I'd like each of you to do something personal. I would like you to do it with me, and I would like you to commit to take a half hour on March 2nd to read with a child. March 2nd is Read Across America Day, celebrating the birthday of Theodore Geisel. He's better known to most of us as Dr. Seuss, the author of The Cat in the Hat and many, many more wonderful children's stories. His books have led generations of children to discover the joy of reading. On March 2nd, to honor Dr. Seuss, the National Education Association, the Florida Education Association, and the MEA are sponsoring a celebration of reading we call NEA's Read Across America. Our goal is to have every child in every school reading with a caring adult for at least 30 minutes. And for the second year in a row, thanks to our national sponsor, Renaissance Dental, we're also promoting the awareness of good oral health and literacy skills by asking each student to follow a simple formula. 2 times 2 plus 20. Brush your teeth for 2 minutes twice a day and read for 20 minutes daily. We have some noble company in this effort. Our co-sponsors include the American Library Association, the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, the International Reading Association, National PTA, First Book, American Association of Publishers, PBS, Target, Parenting Magazine, the NFL Players Association, the United Way, and the Screen Actors Guild Foundation, just to name a few. We would like you to join us by endorsing this program. We would like you to all personally commit to reading in one of our schools on March 2nd, and we would like you to do whatever you can to publicize this celebration. Now, Chairman James, I ask that you and the other board members explore the possibility of joining us in our goal of having every child in every school in our community reading with a caring adult to celebrate the joy of reading and Dr. Seuss's 112th birthday. Now, if you can't make the March 12th or 2nd date, locally, the MEA will again partner with our public library to hold our community Read Across America event. We call it the Read Across Marion event. Saturday, March 5th from 10 to 12 p.m. at the main branch of our public library. We are going to be celebrating all things Dr. Seuss with crafts, cake, and of course read-ins. We would love to have you join us that Saturday to read to our children. When we work together as a community to engage our children to read, we can say, to quote Dr. Seuss, "The more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the more places you'll go." Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Board, I ask you to govern yourselves accordingly on that. Okay. For March 2nd. Okay. Thank you. Brenda?
Greg Roach.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you for letting me speak here before you tonight. I'm a plant manager at College Park Elementary, and I'm here speaking to you tonight about plant managers being cut from the 2016-17 staffing plan. On Thursday, the 18th, at 1 p.m., we were called to a meeting right here in this very room by the superintendent's office. Shortly after, they had a staffing plan meeting with you all. Lisa Kasaka informed us that plant managers were going to be eliminated from the 16-17 staffing plan. Mrs. Kasaka informed us that we had till June 1st, 2016 to apply for another job in the district, and if we could not find one, we would be put back into custodial services with a pay cut of approximately 40%. As you can imagine, this was a huge shock to all of us as plant managers, because up until this point, we had no idea there were any problems with our positions or the district was planning any changes. We asked Mrs. Kasaka why our positions were being eliminated. She said, I quote, "The position did not originally set them up to have more interaction with the maintenance, doing minor maintenance work at the facility, and overseeing district personnel coming to the facility. That is exactly what one of our functions was. As you can see in our job description, we are doing a lot more than just maintenance. If memory serves me right, the school board, in consultation with the superintendent's office, created this position for multiple reasons. One being to have a person to oversee the entire facility so the principals did not have to field all the complaints from staff about maintenance, custodial grounds, and make sure everything was being done correctly. We also did minor maintenance at the facility and oversee other district personnel doing work on the campus. We also oversee the contract custodial companies to make sure the schools were getting cleaned properly. We mowed, weed-eated, edged the inside of the facility, and everything else the principals could find for us to do. The reason this position didn't come to fruition, as Ms. Kasaka stated, is because this administration kept moving the goalpost and would not let us do our jobs by continually changing our job description. Let me explain. We were offered this position. We were told we'd be doing 80% maintenance, 20% custodial. Due to the fact we were going to be overseeing the private contracted custodial companies. And we would have to do some call-outs for cleanups from time to time. But the main function for the custodial side of this was to oversee the contract companies because they were doing a horrible job and the schools were absolutely filthy and were out of control. The companies were not cleaning, disinfecting, nothing. And the little bit they called themselves cleaning, they were using Windex to clean the bathrooms, desks, etc. because that was the only chemical they had. Their companies were not providing them with anything. The principals and teachers were screaming for help, as some of you board members remember, because you came out to see these problems firsthand. The first year, everything went fine while we were under technical services. We had unbelievable support when we called them with an issue or a need for anything. It was taken care of immediately, and they worked with us hand in hand. Then, for reasons that were not fully disclosed to us, they switched us over custodial services, and that's where the problem started. We did not have any of the same support we once did. One of the first plant managers meetings that we had, they passed out a copy of the plant manager job description, went down it line by line, telling us to cross out everything that didn't have to do with custodial services. I was under the impression that only the school board could change our job description. They have been changing our job description weekly, monthly, or however they seem fit since the move. This administration has created total chaos and uncertainty for all of us to the point where we don't know what they want from us from day to day. We have not been consulted at any way or any time to see what we could do better to serve our schools and this district needs. I would like to invite this administration to come and work in our shoes for a while before sitting behind a desk and making decisions and insulting us by telling we are glorified day custodians. They have no idea the amount of work it has taken us to get these schools back to where they are today. Ms. Kasaka informed us that it was going back to the way it was before plant managers with area coordinators supervising the contracted companies. Well, how did this strategy work out for us last time? The reason this job is not doing what they say it was designed for is because we were set up to fail by this administration constantly changing what they wanted us to do. With that said, most of the principals are very happy with the job we are doing despite the administration telling us not to do this or that because we do the job we were hired to do. I know that the principals are frustrated by this decision to eliminate plant managers and go back to the way it was. They remember how it was. So, all of us have families that count on us, and we cannot afford a 40% pay cut or any pay cut for that matter. We were already doing multiple positions, minor maintenance, custodial, grounds, supervising them. This is a slap in the face to all of us. We come in and get these schools out of the gutter and make them 1,000% better, and we were integral in part of making sure that we got the new companies that we have today cleaning them. I'm just about done. And so what do we get for our hard work? Demoted to the custodial department with a pay cut. All of us have to have trade backgrounds to be eligible for this job. So why are we put back in the custodial services is beyond me, when we should be put in technical services where we were hired for in the first place. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
I would like to say something to him. I want to thank you for coming. I was as puzzled as you were when I found out that this was happening when I came in for my meeting on the staffing plan, especially when it doesn't cost the taxpayers a penny for your position. This is a totally, completely free position that we save because we outsource those 13 or 14 schools. Many of the schools cannot be outsourced, granted. In fact, probably not any more than what we're doing right now. But over time, we have perfected this. There's commercial companies, there's commercial businesses all over this town who outsource their cleaning, the doctor's offices, and it's clean. And I remember that, you know, we had some problems, and I even wondered then, why are we continuing? It was like a leadership problem. Why are we continuing to? Why don't we fire this company, hire another company if they're not doing a good job? I never could figure that out. But Mr. Gregory came up with a great idea. He and I talked about it, you know, that we will combine this position, maybe come up with a position where we could have some stability on the job site, where on the school site, where the students would see the same janitor or maintenance person every single day as it was in the old days, where, you know, you could know the children's names and it would be another person there. And we thought it was a great idea. And I am concerned that the superintendent staff changed a job description that was voted on by this board. That concerns me that our vote is not respected, sir. That it is okay to just wing it and do as we please here. That demonstrates either disrespect for us or something more serious than that. So I do not support losing a free position. We went into this project with the outsourcing those schools. We could save $500,000 to $1 million. When we even took back your salary out of it, we were still saving money. And we were building careers for people that wasn't costing us anything, instead of having a bunch of $8 an hour employees all around the schools, covering the schools that might quit today, go work someplace else tomorrow, or not even show up because of the type of people that we would get, you know, in interviewing for that. We had individuals that came here. You guys were able to have somewhat of a career with us, and it was free for us. I really don't understand what this is all about, and I will be talking more about this in the staffing plan, how we can lay off people that are costing us nothing. It's just amazing to me. So I want to thank you for coming, And in fact, I even asked Mrs. Krasaka, when she told me this, I said, how can we afford to go back to doing that? Because we've hired paras and all kinds of things, you know, and we've gotten these people. And she said, oh, we're not going to do it. We're only going to do one at a time. And I'm like, well, Ms. Krasaka, I rest my case. It's expensive, obviously, or we would just do all 14 at one time. So the mere fact that we're going to go back to full custodial staff at one school at a time, so the taxpayers won't see us putting it back on top of them, and we're losing all the savings that we've been able to help employees have quality positions instead of $8 an hour positions where they can be proud and have a job that's not costing the taxpayers anything. And I want to thank you for what you've done. I want to thank you for your courage for coming before this board. I have not had a single principal since you guys came on board. We did have a lot of complaints before you guys came on board. I have not had a single principal call and complain. Not one call and complain. I did call our deputy superintendent's sister-in-law and ask her, and she didn't support it. But then again, she's, you know, that's in the family. So, but the outside of that, I have not had a single principal call me and complain. So, which was not the way it was before. So obviously you have turned our schools around. And why we would be, and it's a $14 an hour job. It's not like you're some high-paid administrator, but it makes a difference in your life, and it gives our kids at our school a person that's there consistently that they can see instead of having a different janitor every single day. And you took pride in your work, and I want to thank you for your service, and I'm sorry we have done this to you. I apologize.
It's going to be a huge impact on some of our people. And the one question that I have that nobody's been able to answer is, what is the rush this year to cut all of us out at one time? If we're not going to take 12 or 14 schools back next year, why do all of us have to be gone now? Why, after 3.5 years, how does this all of a sudden just overnight become a problem? And I don't get it. And it's not fair to none of us.
Ms. Boynton.
Thank you, Mr. Roach, for coming and bringing this to our attention. You laid some serious accusations that I would like to have answered myself. And so I'm going to ask you, Mr. Superintendent, if you could give us, this board, an understanding of how often this job description was changed and under whose guidance did the job description change. I remember when Mr. Gregory was here and we talked about this position and the need for it, that it was not a glorified position within the district, but that it was something that we would need. And I do believe that we have these contract custodial companies, and I do think we need to have a relationship with them from within the board, from within the district, that we would monitor our school cleaning, you know, to make sure that the level of cleaning isn't diluted down to Windex, you know. You and I know with germs that go around, we have to have our schools clean so that we can have a clean community. So if you could just give me a better understanding of the job descriptions change that Mr. Roach alluded to, and the mere fact that they would be losing 40% of their pay if this position is approved on the staffing plan. If you could bring that back to the board so we can have a better understanding, and I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I was not here at the staffing plan, but I did meet with Ms. Kasaka, and she did go over all the information with us, and that's 15 positions that will be affected. And if we could get that information, I think then the board can make some better decisions, you know.
I will ask the superintendent to look into that. Do I have any other board members want to say anything in reference to that?
I'd like to address one matter or two, but certainly, Ms. Boynton, we can certainly get that information to you. I want to assure the board that we do not make knee-jerk decisions or recommendations. We do that after careful analysis. I'm not aware of the job description changes. I don't believe any job description was changed at all. I'm not aware of that at all. We do not evaluate our programs based on how many telephone calls a person might receive, a board member might receive. We do a careful analysis of that. These positions, those individuals in our recommendation will be able to interview for other positions. the same position that some of them came from previously, which paid an equitable amount also. But I'll be more than happy to bring some other additional information to you
Okay.
at your convenience.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roach. We have the information. One of the things I will say to make sure that we look at, I heard two things in that. I heard that we were bringing everything back into, and I got the impression that we were talking about outside resourcing, and I only know that we talked about one area, and that was Oak Crest over there. That was the only one that we talked about.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, and it was not all 12. So make sure we get that information back.
Mr. James, Mrs. Chrisaka told me that over time, we're gonna start with one. Mrs. Boynton was sitting there. And I even said to her, well, that's proof in the pudding then that it's too expensive to do all at one time, or we would just do it all at once. That's a fact.
Well, I can't say what was said in the meeting. Okay, thank you. Brenda, we have somebody else.
Daniel Pedalino.
Daniel Pedalino, Pedalino, 6679 Southwest 87th Street, 34476. I wanted to come and speak to you guys again in regards to bullying. I feel that the efforts of looking through the windshield rather than the rearview mirror has proven futile. The few previous times I've addressed the board. On 2 occasions, I've optimistically presented the simplest no-cost proposals to gauge a willingness to serve the students and parents who've been elected to serve, a bullying prevention poster contest, and a link to report bullying on the school board website. I proposed more efforts celebrating good teachers, something to celebrate each week, etc. I said, let's learn and build from the successes of our highly graded school and local private schools, but reluctantly, I now have to present some things from the rearview mirror. Please don't misinterpret my haste. Last time I got the 1-minute sign from you, Mr. James, so I'm going to make sure I try to get to everything on here. I had heard you speak of transparency during the same campaign where you violated numerous bullying and harassment policy definitions with the Hindu Jain website and mailers. This is the same policy that this community has voted and trusted you to enforce, which really makes about as much sense as Mr. Tomlin's recent quote in the Ocala Star Banner, where he said he believes our school district is in good shape. I invite you to substantiate that statement, Mr. Superintendent, or why you do not think a parent outreach committee would be beneficial. I have nearly 50 permissioned testimonies, examples, emails, documented to support why parents, some in attendance this evening, strongly believe this parent relationship needs to be better and is necessary, as well as a more lucid, interactive, proactive school system in regards to parent concerns. Involved, concerned, and frustrated parents are growing by the day, as demonstrated by the 1,600 students kept home for fear of their safety on February 1st. I have a couple of emails. I'm not going to read the entire emails because there's something I'd like to get to, but I do have one from January 13th here from a parent. I will try to get to the. She requested any and all documents pertaining to the multiple bullying packets that were supposedly completed by Mrs. Tucker. Witness statements and written pertaining to any and all incidents that included her son, copy of all policies and procedures that were used by any staff, including when investigations were done, concluded, and punishments were or not handed down. She was very cordial. Thank you in advance for your help in this matter. I'm not trying to cause any problems for anyone. I just want my children, all of them, to feel safe and protected at school and to be able to learn at school instead of having to look over their shoulder and what might happen next. She did tell me she got an email back from the superintendent's secretary. He asked her to email me back. It said the school was already addressing my issues of concern. I was never followed up with. It was swept under the rug. This parent, a few days later, posted, Maplewood Elementary should have listened. I told you my son had had enough. You needed to do something about the bullying. Now, instead, since you failed, you showed my son and everyone else that it's okay to bully and nothing would be done. My son decided to stand up for himself. She had told her son to go to school and hit back. But I believe that could have been, actually it says right here exactly, it says, I would not punish him or tell him he did anything wrong, when in the end this could have been prevented had you done your job in the first place. 1 minute, okay. Let's move on to something. I have, I'll try to summarize here. I have another parent email here whose son has ulcer, scared to go back to school. They suspended a child for 3 days for what they had done to him, but then when she corresponded with them, they responded by saying the alleged bullying incident that my dean addressed, blah, blah, blah. She responded, the word alleged raised an important question. Are you stating that what occurred when the boy did what he did, was suspended for 3 days, his mother adamantly apologized to me, is considered as alleged bullying? There is no question that his actions violate more than one of the 11 definitions of the Marion bullying and harassment policy. This is considered alleged bullying, okay? So there's a child that is scared to go to school because of an ulcer, okay? I would like to add, why are we scanned with a metal detector prior to coming in here? Okay, Lake County doesn't have this precaution, okay, at their school board meetings. On December 9th, I attended a legislative delegation at Sumter College. Senators, House representatives, there were no metal detectors there. Who could possibly be driven to the point to want to harm the people that have been elected to trust and cultivate our most valuable resource, our children? Does the metal detector make you guys feel safe? Okay. I also have here your strategic plan for 2015,
Your time is up.
2020. Excuse me?
Your
Okay.
time is up.
Okay, well, goal number 1 is to support safe, secure, and respectful schools. Keeping our students safe is job number 1, okay? It appears that the staffs are being kept safe with the metal detector, but keeping our children safe, number 1, I believe, is up for debate. And on page 3, goal number 4, it says improve the quality, integrity,
Sir, your
and
time is
delivery of the communications. And if emails are not being responded to, I don't believe that goal number 4 is being addressed as well. Okay, would anybody like to?
You can have a seat.
Have anything to
Board
say?
have something to say.
Mr. James, I'd like to say one thing. I certainly agree with you on the metal detectors. I do believe that there was a school board in Pensacola that there was an injury because someone slipped a weapon in. But honestly, I've even gone in and told the gentleman, you can scan me. I feel that if you're scanned, I should be scanned. Because just because we might have someone come into the audience, we could have a wackadoodle elected official also. I believe we shall be scanned, and I will stand there in front of his wand at my next board meeting and pretend I'm being scanned if he won't scan me. Because I feel what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
And I agree, and I believe accountability should be spread all the way
For
around.
all, I think it's good for one, it's good for everyone. If it's good for my constituents, then I need to have myself wand. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Ms. Boynton?
I'd just like to say before you sit down, sir, you read 2 emails, and it alleged that there were some incidents that happened that either you're saying the board didn't respond to, or either to the superintendent and his staff didn't respond to. I would like for you to share those emails with the superintendent, if I may, with Mr. Villanello, so that we can make sure that even at this point in time, that information can be responded to. I think it's important that if you bring information to us and you're alleging that some bullying went down, that we have the right to investigate it. I think it's critical. I don't believe that any child should be bullied. And so if you would put that information in our hands so that we can respond to it and so that our staff can look into it, because we do hold bullying it's really a critical situation, and we do have a lot of, during the month of Mr. Villanella, can you repeat? October. We do have some things going on in our schools, you know, addressing bullying. And so it is not something that this board sits and just says, you know, we heard you and don't want to address it. We would like to have the information. And sometimes the information may not be disseminated well to us, or we may even have our attorney respond to it. But we do need to have that information.
I'll be more than happy to forward those. I specifically selected those two emails because I do know that the school board member and the superintendent had been copied on those. So that's why I specifically picked those two. But I'll be more than happy to re-forward them to them. I do have their permission.
Just if you would provide it to Mr. Villanella, and Mr. Villanella, would you let him recognize who you are, please? If you could provide it to him, and then he can get that information to the board, so that it can be properly responded to.
Okay. And
You have anything?
No, I don't. I just want to make sure that those people who are emailing you have worked with the principal and the administrators in those schools before they send these emails to you. And
I don't mean to cut you off, Ms. Ely. Those emails were not sent to me. Those emails were sent to the school, and then copies of those were sent to me.
I'm just wondering what...
after the parents reached the point of frustration of telling their kid to go to school and punch a kid back, or the lady that has to take her child to the pediatrician because he has ulcers because he's scared to go to school.
And hopefully they've contacted the school administration.
Yes, the principals, the teachers, the superintendent, and I believe the school board members. I don't want to say who they are here, but I believe the school board members were copied on both of them. I know that the superintendent was, and I know they were addressed to the teacher, the principal, perhaps the dean, something to that effect. So that was why I picked those. I mean, I have 50 of these things. I mean, you know, people, and you know, a lot of it is this and that, but I know that the email is for the public record, and it seems that we'll tell parents one thing, but we're reluctant to put anything in writing back to the parents. And I believe that, you know, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and smells like a duck, it's a duck.
Mr. James, and I thank the gentleman for speaking tonight, but I resent some of those comments because I have no factual data from which to operate from right now. We have to be very cautious as a public and also as a board as we listen to accusations that have, to our knowledge, no fact to them. This gentleman mentioned so many different things. It was all over the map. I don't know where to begin, but I'd be more than happy, as you've all suggested, to work with them should we have an opportunity to address a single issue and address it appropriately, and we will do that.
With all due respect, Mr. Thomas, and when I have dealt with Mr. Villanella, he's extremely responsive, immediately responsive, as helpful as he could possibly be. But I'm not sure that I've seen responses from you, Mr. James, in regards to these things. So I will follow what Ms. Boynton asked me to do, and I'll send them to Mr. Villanella, but I would like to see someone besides Mr. Villanella working so hard for these students that are victims that are falling through the cracks.
Mr. I admire your respect for Mr. Villanella, but that is the position that he has. And if you would do that, Mr. Villanella will get that information, and he will make sure that we as a board are informed, as well as he will inform the superintendent. And sometimes when you get the information, and you may not have all of the information. So that's why I'm asking you to give us an opportunity to see what you have. Sure. So that we as a board, we're about protecting our students.
Well, and Ms. Boynton, when I spoke here the first time, you engaged very much, you seemed very interested in trying to do your best rather than just saying, go away, your 5 minutes is through. So I appreciate your willingness, and I truly do believe that your heart is in the right place in regards to this.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me remind the board of something now. I know that when we hear, and I just want to address some of these issues while we're here, like scanning of people coming into to the boardroom. Folks, you all are aware of what is happening in this country. We know that every person that visits one of our schools is properly checked in. So we know this. So this is not anything foreign. When I hear these things, when we look at people that's coming into our buildings and we check every person that come into our school system, they either have a card on, they have a badge on, and we check them and we know who they are. So we cannot say that when we look at ourselves, we are in a bottle and nothing will happen here. There is a possibility, and will say that things do occur. I've heard a lot today. One of the things that I have asked the board at our last staffing meeting, in order for us to be productive, we have to know where information come from. And this is what we talked about at our last staffing plan. And again, I'm running into it again tonight. When I get people that come in and they tell us this is what we're doing, and I know Mr. Villanella worked really hard on this, and this is where, if information come to me, it will go to Mr. Villanella. And he have a very good record of usually working things out or finding out what the issues are. Okay, thank you. Brenda, do I have somebody else?
Ms. Carolyn Torrey?
Good evening. Excuse me, sorry. Good evening. My name is Carolyn Torrey. I reside at 1202 Southeast 14th Avenue, Ocala, Florida. I am basically listening to a lot of the talk that most people have had here, and a lot of it is based on safety. And one of the first meetings that I ever came to, I dealt with you with my concerns about my son's school teacher. Now I've also run across a former school psychologist has an address of a pedophile living in his home. And that same school psychologist was the individual who had determined through the school district that my child was not allowed to get accommodations for hearing loss because it was not a necessary need for learning, that hearing was not necessary for learning. I have the paperwork here for you. I also have the paperwork here, and I've also sent you the concerns of the 4 other individuals working for Marion County Public Schools. Now, there's been some news play on Sarasota on the concerns and the Auditor General findings about background checking, and they've cited the law. And they've cited Sarasota because they found that they weren't background checking. I have tried to get answers from there how the background checks are being done and how often, and I can't find them when every time I go to a public records request, I don't find that there's ever been background checks. So I need to find out what is being done in personnel, and maybe this is a deficit that somebody needs to check into. So I would appreciate, Brenda, I've got these copies here. I would appreciate it if you would kindly copy these and pass them around. And I would appreciate if somebody would research this and find out, are we in compliance? Are we checking on these people that are working with our children? And, you know, this is very, very concerning about people with background issues working amongst our children. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Board, may I have a motion to adopt a proposed modification of the attendance boundaries affecting Dunallen Elementary School, Dunallen Middle School, Dunallen High School, Sanderwood Elementary School, Liberty Middle School, and Westport High School effective August 2016. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Ms. King. Mr. Superintendent.
Board members, at this time, these modifications impact only 2 students who will be assigned to their newly designated school, which they are currently attending as transfer students.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the proposed boundary modification? Board? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Brenda, you're gonna have to vote for me. Mine went out for some reason. The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items C19 through C24 and item C14, which have been withdrawn, and C44, I'm sorry, which have been withdrawn entirely from the agenda, and items C14, which has been placed on the regular agenda for discussion. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, do it again. The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the extended day program fee schedule for the 2016-2017 school year? May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved and second. It was moved by Ms. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. Ms. Stacy, you withdrew this item for discussion.
Yes, I did, and I spoke with the gentleman that's in charge of this at CTAE today. And my concern with this fee schedule is last year when we approved our fee schedule, I really didn't even notice the cost of the extended day parents. And I was noticing, actually a parent brought it to my attention and then, talking to me about it, but then when last year, but I didn't think about it again, really it was already voted on, there was nothing I could do about it. But when it came back up this year, I noticed what she was talking about, that the extended day students have to pay $30 for that drop-in day. Where if you've got, and I can't pull my form up because there's something missing in my computer, so Miss Ely, could you pull it up for me on the,
Which one is it?
on that extended day?
C14.
C14, go all the way down. You'll have to go down here to find it. Or you got it? Thanks, Miss Boynton, for copying it. And on the extended day schedule for elementary children, they've got the fees to drop back in, and the afternoon enrollment is $40 per child. But if you have morning and afternoon, it's $50. And if you have, and I guess they have different prices for like the first child, the second child, and that sort of thing. Well, with the students that have just one afternoon, I think it's a hardship for the parents, because if they've got 2 or 3 children at that elementary school, that's like a $90 expense if the mom needs to depend on daycare, where the child could stay in the whole entire week for like $40 every single afternoon. And we were talking about the number of early dismissal days that we now have, and I just feel that it could be a hardship for some families. And so the gentleman that I spoke to, he said, well, it's a hardship for, which I could see his side, it's a hardship for us to staff the program not knowing who's going to drop in. Well, not if you have a plan. And at the first of the year, if the parents did a reservation fee, small fee, for their children, and then the aftercare would know that on those particular Wednesdays, there would be additional children there, and they could staff it accordingly, just like they would if the child just dropped in. I mean, if the child just drops in on early dismissal day, they're going to charge $30. Well, they don't have to, because they're going to have the people there, obviously. So I feel that it's really stiffing the parents for a lot of money. And when he said to me, well, basically it works well for us because of our staffing, I said, but it doesn't work well for the parents. And I think at some point in time, we have to look at what are we doing and how it's affecting the students and their parents versus how it's affecting the system. And so I would like to have the board maybe table this and talk about this fee, because I think about the families that have multiple children that would want to use the early dismissal. In fact, like I spoke to them, when I spoke to the man today, I think it could actually encourage parents, if you have 2 or 3 children at elementary school, which in my case, actually, I actually did, it could cause a parent to just say, I'm not paying $90 for aftercare. I can't come home from work to take them to grandma's house. I'm just going to leave them at grandma's house and let them just stay home today. And it could encourage absenteeism to not have to pay that fee. Where if the fee was more reasonable, like maybe $10 or so for each child, or $15 for one and $10 for multiple children apiece, then possibly it could be worked out. So I think if we're going to, if our system is going to put these early dismissal days on because it works for the system, then I think we need to look at how we can make it easier for the parents as they deal with our system.
Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. James, if I can, Ms. Stacy, thank you. That man that you spoke to is Dan Davis, and he is here today, but I'm going to attempt to address your concerns here, and I understand where you're coming from. The extended day program that we have right now was not just created last month or last year. It's an expansion of program that's lasted over 20 or 25, almost 30 years now, and we've become more and more refined. We've got risk management involved. We have food service involved. And we have a lot of things going on with that program, so it is pretty sophisticated now, and it is an excellent opportunity for students to stay after school or actually come before school also. What I would like to ask the opportunity to do is I would like to ask you to pass this as it is right now, so CTAE, who coordinates this program right now, can go ahead and begin this process. But what I want to do is to work with Mr. Davis and the extended day staff and come up with a proposal that specifically addresses the early release day, and come up with some kind of, we still need those children to be registered. We don't have to make them pay ahead of time, but to register those students that we know those children will be coming on those 7 or 8 days, whatever number of days we have. And I will bring that back to you prior to school starting, and it can actually look very good on your plates, if you will, to say, hey, the school board now has an opportunity for parents, and we'll advertise in all our elementary and middle schools as an opportunity to go forward. And we can do that. I would just like our staff to have a little bit of time to come up with that special registration form, find out exactly what needs to be done, because that registration form includes contact information, medical information, and we don't want to duplicate too much if we don't have to. If you'll let us work with that, that's what I know this staff will do.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Because we tend to do things mañana, and sometimes mañana never comes, and I know you've promised me that this will happen. Would you give me a time frame?
We could come back to you at a work session later on this spring with certainly a date that we want this in effect by, well, August the 1st. We start school August the 10th.
I just want parents to know about it, so I don't get any calls about it again.
Okay,
I want the
understand.
parents to know that this is
Brenda
coming.
will get us a work session. Will give us a month or so to work with our extended day staff to get input from principals on how many kids we're talking about, because they can research and have some numbers. So give us a month from now at least. Give us 6 weeks. It's February. It's the middle of February, March. How about the 1st of April? Sometime we come back to you with the plan, let you look at that at a work session, and then we can put that on a board agenda as part of the extended day fee schedule for next year.
Okay,
I think there'll be plenty of time.
I will.
Brenda, it's on you. 6 weeks from now. Okay.
Now, Ms. Stacy, so you're withdrawing, you said
Withdrawing my concerns.
your table, okay. Okay, are there any more discussion?
I just want to thank Mrs. Stacy for, bringing this to our attention, and for Mr. Superintendent and Mr. Davis for understanding. Yes, there is a need out there, but we do know we have to have a procedure in place. So thank you all for saying let's work together to bring something to the community. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0 with the intent that we will get something back in April. Yes, sir. Okay. May I have the motion to approve the following donations? $2,500 to Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary School from Charlie Collins, $2,000 to Dunellen High School from Lockheed Martin, $1,224 to Dunellen High School from Countryside Baptist Church, $1,000 to Hammett Bowen Junior Elementary School from Cipoto Cheese. You gotta help me on that word. $2,000 to Marion County Public School from the Social Work Services from Stan D. Hansen. $1,700 to Marion County Public School Social Work Services from Trinity Ladies. $1,037.70 to South Ocala School from Box Tops for Education. $1,431.43 to South Ocala Elementary School from Lights Touch Studio. $1,000 to Vanguard High School from the Indian Association of Culture Education, Center of North Central Florida, Inc. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ms. King, would you thank our constituents tonight?
I sure will. From the Marion County School Board, we would just like to say grateful thank you for all your contributions and donations. When we look at this list, we can just see a broad range, and we see businesses, and we see just even a personal person who's invested in our schools and our students, and we're just grateful and thank you.
Ms.
Would you
Ely?
like the total?
I would love the total.
$13,893.13. And I wanted to just make a note of the box tops for education. Parents, I know your kids eat cereal. Grandparents, I know lots of boxes of cereal. Every school has a deposit area where you can bring box tops, and that's where this money came. They sent the box tops in, and they were able to receive over $1,000 at South Ocala. So please don't throw away your box tops. Cereal boxes, yes, but the box tops, bring them into school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Meeting reminders. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, March 3rd, 2016 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is for the final review of the 2016-2017 staffing plan, if needed, and the 2016-2017 Code of Student Conduct, as well as the review of the techniques for effective adolescent and children handling program, and a revision to the board policy 2.40 legal counsel and board policy 4.21 learning resource instructional materials. Committee reports or concerns? Ms. Stacy, I know you've had some things to deal with.
I got it all covered. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Ely?
I just wanted to commend the foundation and Kevin Christian and Judy Zanetti for putting on a beautiful gala for the Golden Apple Teacher Recognition Program. I was very honored to be there, and I love the way the banner put all of the teachers from every school in the paper. That's beautiful. We've got great teachers, and we need to celebrate all of the great things that they do. I wanted to point out a couple things. Tanya, when she got up there and spoke, they asked her kids what they thought of her, and one of the kids, when she came in or when they came, they said, "You've come a long way, teacher." I thought that was cute. And then Dylan Bishop, our rookie teacher of the year, he talked about his kids all being superheroes, and they could be whatever they wanted to be, and tomorrow they would be better than what they are today. And he compared them to Christopher Reeves, and then he took off his jacket and he had a Superman cape on. So that was pretty impressive. And that was on the front page of the paper. But it was a great event. I'm very honored to be part of it, and it was terrific. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Boynton.
Just have a couple of things. I had got with our State Representative Dennis Baxley and asked him to be an advocate on behalf of especially our school district, for the PICO funders to come back to the district. And I'm just happy to report he emailed me and said he would be working very hard on our behalf, and I think that's something that I wanted to reach out live and say thank you, Representative Baxley, because we desperately need to have those funds back, and just send me an email on it, and I'm excited. Also, I want to say that although I was ill last week, I was able to go to the it's a Tri-County, the Sumter, Citrus, and Marion County Science Awards, and it was held at MTI. And I want to say, Mr. Superintendent, your staff really came and did an excellent job. I was really, really impressed. I was also impressed with the villages. Well, they seem to be getting a lot of the awards, you know, and they had their little cheer together, and it made me like want to say, hey, what are you clapping for? It was a little, you know, stump thing, and it was really exciting. But I tell you, the most exciting part was that some of those awards came from the University of Florida, the Naval Academy. Wow. Gave some awards out, and those children, you know, they walked away, and I know feeling probably like the Young Scientist of the Year, you know. But it was a wonderful event, and I want to thank Mrs. Deli was there, Teresa was there, and the department our department that ran this, they were so together. It was really smooth, but it was. To me, it was very rewarding because I realized that that science fair, it goes beyond our county. There are universities that are out there that are coming looking at what our children are doing and awarding them for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mr. James? I forgot to say one thing. I went to the spelling bee Thursday night. I drove like a Mad Hatter back from West Palm Beach so I could get here at the spelling bee at MTI, and it was great. That's all I have to say. It was just wonderful, and I just wanted to comment. I didn't get to see the entire thing, but the way the staff pulled that off, working extra hours over and beyond the call of duty, I think I have to thank them for that. So.
Yeah. But I also want continuing from that was, you know, we, as I looked at the event, they've had this event for at least 40 years, they said, and one of the presenters was from Sumter County, the superintendent, and he made mention, Mr. Superintendent, that he had been, and not only was he an attendee, but he participated over 30 years ago in the youth science fair, and there he was that night, you know, presenting, giving an award and thanking the children and everything. So I thought it was very well ran, very impressive.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. King.
Yes. Well, I want to start off positive with the Golden Apple Gala. It was a terrific night, and we all just really enjoyed it. And I almost felt like we were at the Oscars.
Oh, it was incredible.
They were incredible. Everyone was just dressed beautifully, or they were handsome, and they were very poised. And I just really thought that's where we were, except for when we did see Superman, but he was entertaining. So yes, again, yes. We were, and so and I want to thank Kevin and Judy. You guys did an excellent job, and Kevin even was our entertainer that evening, and he can play the piano and sing. So that was just wonderful. And again, I applaud Miss Tarantino and all of the teachers. They all did an outstanding job all year long. Also, my alternate for the Independent Citizens Referendum Oversight Committee no longer has a desire to volunteer, so I have to elect another volunteer for this committee. I have received a letter of intent and a resume from Rebecca Holman and would like to nominate her, but before I do that, I would like to bring this to your attention and see, make sure if we have any discussion or anything about this. Here, I'm going to pass out her resume, and HOL. She's one of my former teachers. Is she? Yeah, she's just the alternate. She's not, but I feel like she could commit for the other 3 years, so I think she would do a good job. She would. I think she would be great also. So I think we can move forward with that. And also, I just would like to remind our community that attendance matters, and we have about 3.5 weeks left before spring break, and then everyone can take a break. But until then, I just encourage you to finish strong and continue to do your best. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those science fair winners often come and stand before this board, and I imagine Mrs. Beebe, who is our coordinator of that, will be bringing science fair winners up to us. Board, you might have been keeping up with the news. We do have some possibility of severe weather tonight and also tomorrow. We are planning on having normal school procedures unless we find out differently. We've already sent out one alert now message, and if we get additional information, Mr. Christian is ready to send out any other kind of information, but we think we're going to be just fine tomorrow. Share with you that some of you may know about the Battle of the Belts, as in seat belts, at our local high schools. This activity has been around about 13 or 14 years now and sponsored by the Marion County Community Traffic Safety Team, which is a combination of law enforcement, city and county state traffic engineers, the school board, and the health department. In December, a group of people goes out to each of our high schools and observes the student parking lot, hopefully not the adult parking lot, the student parking lot, and counts the percentage of students who are wearing their seat belts when they leave. They share that information then with the school in hopes that there is an emphasis on safety and a reminding of safety. And then the same group goes out in January, unannounced, and then counts those, the percentage, and we hope it goes up. And in most cases, it certainly does. For the first 8 or 10 years of this, the school's got a plaque. And it was kind of, oh goody, we got a plaque. Well, the law firm of Ayers and Cluster stepped up and about 3 years ago added $500 to the pot. And so each winning school each year does receive a $500 to go back into their student activities funds. This year's winner is Vanguard High School with the highest percentage, and 97% of their students were wearing seatbelts appropriately when leaving the parking lot on that particular day. And we're certainly grateful for that. Board, just for your information, each board meeting, or just about each board meeting, you approve of something called Pell Grants and sometimes some other grants. These are federal grants that our students that attend CTAE use to pay the tuition fees there. Put it in perspective, we thank our community every day, but you approve of about $1.5 million in Pell Grants each year to these students. So these are dollars that are coming in to train our students, and I think is certainly a very worthwhile adventure. We've talked a lot about the Golden Apple. I'm still giddy about it because it was a great event. But if you want to experience something on the other end of the spectrum of students, I certainly would encourage you to go to the Southeastern Youth Fair anytime this week. Put on your rubber boots. You might need them, but you'll enjoy it. It's going on right now. Please show your support. And if you want to see students who are disciplined, well-mannered, and respectful, and if you want to see supportive parents and community members and teachers, that's the place to go to get a good feel moment, and it's really neat. Tonight's a steer sale. If you go, keep your hands in your pockets, or you might be leaving with a side of beef, so be careful. I announced to you about 2 or 3 weeks ago, either at a work session or here, that Shady Hill Elementary School music program had entered into a music video contest. They were selected as a finalist in the southern region. Well, Shady Hill has won this. They're receiving a $2,500 grant from this particular organization. Our referendum dollars at work, and certainly congratulations to the Shady Hill students and Sandra Collins, who is the full-time, I'll say it again, full-time music teacher at Shady Hill. And then finally, we talk a lot about parent involvement and how important parent involvement is. I shared with you 2 or 3 weeks ago about an event that happened at Oakcrest, where we had over 300 parents and community members there to celebrate the Be a Reader program. Jane Davis came and spoke last week with Dr. DeWeese and talked about the Title I parent involvement programs there. Well, one of those parent involvement programs occurred at Marion Oaks Elementary School, and I don't know whether everybody's trying to outdo anybody, but they had over 500 people registered to attend. That's students and children and their parents who participated in parent and student in-service activities one evening last week. A fantastic hats off to those that organized it, and then also to those parents who attended and played a role in their child's education. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Before we move to our attorney, I just want to share some things with you. Last week we had some excellent work sessions and work session in reference to our staffing plan, our strategic plan, and things of that nature. And when I look at the staff out there, and I know how hard they work at what they do, and sometimes when I sit here and I listen that people come before us and we only hear the one side, and they don't necessarily have an opportunity to present their side on TV like in many cases this is what it is. Because you really don't hear the rest of the story. The people that's listening out there really don't hear the rest of the story. We often, and we've said it hundreds of times, what a tremendous individual we have in Mark Villanella and how he deals with bullying and discipline and things like that. When I get a call, I will send it to his office. And this is, and I assume if the superintendent get a call, he will send it to his office, and his office usually will work his way through this thing. He don't necessarily come back to me and say, well, this is what I did. But I don't understand, as a board, we praise these guys for a tremendous job that they do, and when we get them out here in public, sometimes we don't say, hey, this guy do a tremendous job, because we know he do a tremendous job at what he do. And now, when I look at what we talked about in terms of our staffing plan, the staffing plan will come up again, and the people that have made these recommendations will have an opportunity to present their side of it. And when I say present their side of what they're asking for, I know then all of us will be better off. One of the things that I said, and I was saying this, we had, and in reference to our staffing plan, I'm sorry, strategic plan, we came a long way. We could actually see where we were going. One of the issues that we had was these anonymous calls that we get, because we wanted to drill down into the data that we were getting from our strategic plan, and we wanted to look at where these calls are coming from, what school they're coming from, what principals, all the way back to where it came from. Guys, if we are to make a difference, when we get these anonymous calls, let's make sure we try and get the information so we can do something with it. Because I will tell you again, we praise these guys in work sessions, and when we get out of here, we say, well, I don't know whether we're doing something. But based on what we're getting, this is what I will encourage us to try and work toward. When you get these anonymous calls, let's try and put something in it so our staff can work with it. Okay, that's important to me. Mr. Lake, we'll go to you.
All right, well, we will be having an attorney-client session in just a few minutes.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Lake.
You want me to read the intro?
Okay.
Board members, on behalf of Meredith Stevens, who is with the law firm of Rissman, Barrett, Hurt, Donahue, McLean, and Mangan, PA, I'm notifying you that advice is needed regarding the pending litigation styled Secure Communications, Inc. versus Marion County School Board. Pursuant to Section 286.011, subsection 8, Florida statutes, I requested a session with the board for the sole purpose of discussing settlement negotiations and strategy in regard to this litigation. I have asked the board secretary to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this session and the names of the persons attending to be published. As required by this statute, only the superintendent or his designee, board members, and legal counsel can be present. I have asked a court reporter to record the session, as that is also required by the statute. The court reporter's notes will be fully transcribed and filed with Brenda Flotketter as clerk of the school board. Upon the conclusion of the litigation, the transcript will be made a public record.
We acknowledge your request. The terms appear to be in compliance with Florida statute. Board members, you have heard our attorney's request. As chairman, I announce an attorney-client session. The statute states that I also must announce the commencement of the session, the estimated length of the session, and the name of the persons attending. After dealing with the student discipline matters, I will declare a brief recess to be followed by an attorney-client session. It will last approximately 1 hour, 1/2 hour. The names of the persons attending are Ms. Angie Boynton, Ms. Carol Ely, Mr. Bobby James, Ms. Kelly King, Ms. Nancy Stacy, Superintendent Joyce Tomlin, Attorney Meredith Stevens, and Attorney Stephen Lake. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that the board members have received the alternative placement list for students through February 5th, 2016. Are there any parents in the audience who wish to speak on behalf of a student regarding a disciplinary matter? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 16-44 with educational services through the first semester of the 2016-2017 school year? May I have a motion and a second?
So move.
So moved by Mrs. Ely,
Second.
second by Mrs. King. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. The business and televised portion of this meeting is hereby concluded, and the meeting is now at recess at 6:57 p.m. to prepare for the attorney-client session.